Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable Live. It is me, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nick Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's Friday and I'm ready to party.
Absolutely, absolutely, we're ready to party. And guys, we have a huge show for you guys today. The main topic, obviously, from the thumbnail you see, is talking about Jeremy Renner's comments about a potential Hawkeye Season 2 and how likely that will be. And we have so many other movie news topics and stuff to discuss today. And if you go into our description, if it's after we're live, you'll see specific timestamps. But if it's while we're live, you'll see in order of the stories that we're going to go down. Again, there's so much to talk about, so we're going to dive into it. But first, I just want to say, if you are watching live, please participate in the live chat. And if we like, if you leave comments, we'll read them in between stories. We love interacting with our community here. And also, if you're watching after the fact, please respond with comments, and we'll go in afterwards and chat with you as well. We just love building this film news, this movie community. We love doing it. We love this. We love you guys. And we have a couple things off the top here. One is a bit of personal news as I bring Nick back in here as he dipped out for a second. There you go. You're back. Welcome, buddy.
Oh, I left?
You did for a second there.
Oh, nothing happened on my screen.
Well, hey, all good.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say before we get started is today, quite literally as we're speaking, my future brother-in-law, Chris Heiler, who's been on the show before, is currently graduating from UCF, where Nick and I also graduated from. I'm very, very proud of Chris. Me and him have grown close as Hannah and I's relationship has continued, and I consider him like my own personal brother, and the way that he's been navigating what he wants to do. He's also interested in the film world. He wants to be a writer, and I think from what I've seen so far, he's done a really great job. I actually just finished notes on a script he wrote that I haven't emailed him yet, but the notes are done. You will have them, and I'm really proud of him, and I can't wait to see what he does. He's going to do amazing things, so I just want to say congratulations, Chris. You are amazing. You're going to do great things. Now let's get into the show. Guys, we have news that just dropped, and the reason why the show started a little bit late is because the amazing Nick Iricchio here, let me cut to a single. You see this guy? This guy, instead of just starting the show with the breaking news, he was like, no, we're adding it to the goddamn PowerPoint. We're going to do it. And he did, and it was amazing. Speaking of which, check out this new look for the PowerPoint. It looks fucking great. Excellent job, Nicholas.
Just trying to build our credibility as much as possible.
You do what we can. We do what we can.
Make it look like we're not just some shoestrung operation here.
Absolutely. And guys, the breaking news that just occurred mere minutes before the show went live. Ryan Reynolds is in early stages of exploring a Deadpool X-Men team-up film. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter. Highly recommend you go read the full article yourself, but this is what kind of a breakdown of it. He's toying with writing treatments for a film. It would feature 3 to 4 members of Marvel's mutant team, of course, the X-Men. He has not pitched the idea to Marvel yet. Well, now they fucking know about it. And has always said that Deadpool should be on the sidelines to allow other X-Men characters to be used in unexpected ways. And I just wanted to briefly touch upon this because, like I said, it just came out. This just happened. But also, I think it's an interesting way to kind of go about things. Now, granted, this might never come to fruition, considering that the article even states he hasn't pitched it to the studio yet. But what I think is interesting is I could see Reynolds and Feige and the team at Marvel kind of taking Deadpool, using a character that's a very well-known IP that's been known to make a lot of money, and using him and his marketing to kind of tell stories about X-Men that may not be that popular so that people can go learn more about these characters and to kind of spread the good news of these X-Men characters and use Deadpool as this side character within that world. I think that's incredibly interesting. I also think it's interesting that does this mean they're going to keep the X-Men world separate from the MCU? If this is what this means, that this just brings up wider questions that we don't know about because obviously we haven't seen Doomsday or Secret Wars yet. But Nick, before I throw it over to you, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this will even happen? And where's your thinking along the lines of how this could be used effectively?
Yeah, no, I agree. I felt like pretty solidified with sort of Deadpool and arc from his trilogy of movies, and I thought really the highlights of those movies have been the side characters, how they brought him up. As much as Deadpool and Wolverine was a Deadpool movie, it was really about Wolverine's redemption and bringing his character back and what that kind of looks like, all covered in masks, in that typical Deadpool meta humor. But I think it's a great idea to have these characters, these X-Men movies get so large, right? With so many different characters and variables that a lot of times certain X-Men don't get a lot of time to shine. And I think there's a lot of fun X-Men that really haven't gotten their shot on, gotten off the bench yet. And I think using Deadpool as a way to bring that and elevate that is an excellent idea. There's so many X-Men, so many mutants. You could create new mutants if you want, even as well. Not new mutants, but original mutants.
You beat me by a second.
To fit your thing. And I think that's a great way to maybe entice Ryan Reynolds to do it, right? To let him get away from writing, away from just the Deadpool solo features, because his movies have been about so much more than just Deadpool. It's locked up in a dick joke here and there, but I think he's actually a really interesting, fun, dynamic character. And I think having him maybe lead, new teams or organize or just be that annoying part, I kind of hearken it to almost like a Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, where it's like she's just sort of this. She's just gonna keep showing up and cause havoc and having a good time,
Yeah,
I mean, one that I'd love to see that I just think would be great is if they brought in the worst X-Men ever, whose mutant powers that he can just blow up once because he also dies. So I think that having even just a two-hander with Deadpool and a mutant who's literally just literally a ticking time bomb. I think there's a lot of fun possibilities there.
No, I do as well, and it's also reminiscent. You mentioned Harley Quinn. I'm thinking more of the Birds of Prey movie, where you take all these characters that are unknown, slap them with Harley Quinn, and kind of form that dynamic there. I could see something like that happening, but also,
absolutely.
But also, I think for Ryan Reynolds, just as a person, I know he's mentioned before that he wants to focus on his family life and not have to spend years of his life working on a Marvel thing. It's well, if he's just a side character in this, most of his work is done when the script is finished, and he can go and be Deadpool for 2 weeks on set, and then he's done. So I think it's also just appealing as someone who wants to, do other things. But guys, what do you think of this breaking news? Does this excite you? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it'll happen? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, we love a bidding war here at Movie Nights, and boy, do we have a story of a great bidding war coming. Rebel Ridge. Geez, I need to speak. Rebel Ridge was a film that came out last year on Netflix. And did you ever see it?
I never got a chance to, and I really wanted to. It's been on my list, top of my list for a while. I just haven't taken the dive yet.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a really good film. It goes into ways that you don't expect it to. It has really great tension. And, obviously the star of that film is now going on to play Jon Stewart Green Lantern in the Lantern Show. But the director of the film, whose name is Jeremy Saulnier, forgive me if I say that wrong, his next film is causing up a bidding war in Hollywood, and it's getting quite interesting. So far, Warner Brothers and Universal have already passed. Boo! But A24, Neon, 20th Century Studios, and Netflix are all in contention still. And Netflix has released his last 2 films, so clearly he has a good relationship with them. And the untitled thriller is described as a gritty, high-stakes chase story, which is kind of in tune with what Rebel Ridge was. It seems to be in his wheelhouse as a filmmaker. Now, this comes to us from the Insider newsletter as an exclusive. It has a paywall, so we don't want to show exact clips from it. But this is very exciting news for this director. And as someone who really liked Rebel Ridge, I was going to be looking forward to what he made next anyway. And the fact that it's causing a bidding war makes me very excited. Clearly he has worked with Netflix in the past, but I would personally love it if one of these other studios got their hands on it, just because I'm a big proponent of theatrical. I think this guy would like to have something theatrical after his last 2 projects being on Netflix. And if A24 or Neon wins this, it kind of tells you a little bit more to the project's quality. And the fact they're even in contention tells me at least that, hey, maybe they have a really solid fucking movie on their hands. I'm very shocked that Universal has passed on it and Warner Brothers as well. But, again, still in contention. Nick, I'm going to throw it your way. I know you haven't seen Rebel Ridge yet, but we do love a bidding war. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
We do love a bidding war indeed. No, I mean, I think it's always exciting when you see I don't want to say up and coming, he's directed a few things, but, someone whose last film was wildly popular, getting that kind of excitement and buzz around his next project. And obviously there's scripts that people are reading, so that's even generating more buzz that they got something special on their hands. And, he has a decent track record. And what's interesting to me is, yes, Netflix did...
Oh, we lost him. We lost him. Don't worry, we're going to get him back. It was right as I was eating popcorn, too. Oh, we got you back.
Oh, did I leave again?
You
I
dipped
don't know
out
why that
again.
keeps happening.
No worries, buddy.
Strange. Where was I at?
You were just diving into the good stuff of your thought.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it's very exciting when an up and coming director, right? He's directed a few projects, but getting that sort of buzz and generating that, scripts are out being read, But what's interesting to me, and part of this, right? Netflix did Rebel Ridge and Netflix did Hold the Dark with Jeffrey Wright. Those were his last two there. Green Room, his first movie before that, was distributed by A24.
Oh, yeah.
So he does have a relationship and a connection to A24 in the past.
Very true. Very true. That's an excellent point. And Green Room, I think that was one of the last movies of Anton Yelchin, if I'm not mistaken. Great actor who died way too soon. But guys, what do you think of this bidding war? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it goes theatrical? Do you think it goes back to Netflix? Did you see Rebel Ridge? What were your thoughts on it? Let us know all of those wonderful things in the comments as we move on to our next story. And this next one, I know may cause some, kerfuffle as to why we're covering it, but I just love movie news, and I love when movies are coming out. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. Anyone who's watched us for any period of time knows I am a starch Rachel Zegler fan. I don't think she's ever given a bad performance, even if she was in a movie that wasn't always good, even though I've liked pretty much all the movies I've seen her in to varying levels of quality, but I've liked them. And she is starring in a new film with Marisa Tomei, another amazing actor. It is a dramedy, and the movie is titled She Gets It From Me, and here are the details. This comes to us from Variety. Zegler will play the daughter of Tomei's ex-punk rocker, and it's based on the true story of Nikki, whose engagement celebration turns into a search for her pill-popping ex-punk rocker birth mother. Together, the two embark on an anarchic mother and daughter journey to reconnect. That is the indie shit I'm talking about, dude. That's what movies are made of. That's what I'm talking about. As soon as I saw this in Variety, I was like, we have to talk about this because, I think these are two powerhouse performers. I think these are two people who have the potential to have really amazing chemistry. I've always loved Marisa Tomei, and I know that for younger viewers, you're probably very familiar with her from the Spider-Man films and whatnot. If you have not seen My Cousin Vinny and seen her Academy Award-winning performance for a comedy film, which almost never happens, she's unbelievable in that movie. It's one of the best performances I think ever given, and it's an amazing comedy movie. So do yourself a favor, watch My Cousin Vinny, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about She Gets It From Me. I think this is a very interesting premise. I think this could have a lot of potential to be great. Nick, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely an interesting pairing because, I know that Marisa Tomei was large for My Cousin Vinny, but I really don't typically, as of late, associate either of them necessarily with comedy, but I think that Marisa Tomei is an excellent performer. So to see her have the opportunity to take like such what is probably going to be a zany, over the top mess of a performance with this ex-punk rock, drug addicted, mother, I feel like it's going to be an interesting watch, and especially so because of that. To me, that kind of plays into what seems like it would be Rachel Zegler being more the straight man in that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think sometimes is a lot harder than being the crazy one because you still need to be grounded while also being funny and having that banter to play off of. And knowing that the joke is not on you, you're kind of supplementing and supporting the joke in that sense. So I think, I think she could pull it off. I haven't really seen Rachel Zegler do comedy. At least I don't recall seeing her in any comedies, so I think that dynamic, I think, could be very interesting. I think they've got a great pairing to do so.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I never did get a chance to see the movie Y2K, which, from what I've heard, had comedic elements, so I can't really speak to Rachel Zegler in terms of comedy in that way.
It did. I wouldn't say her role was like comedic in it though. Okay. I think a lot of it was more reliant on the situations being funny necessarily than like jokes.
Gotcha. But like you said, I think this has the chance to be something really interesting. I think you could even play with the dynamic and have the punk rocker in their own world be the sane one in their eyes, and then so the other person's freaking out, and then you can have that dynamic shift constantly of who's the straight person, who's the crazy person.
Well, even the title too, the She Gets It From Me, implies that like there are elements that would transfer over, so maybe there is stuff like in that regard. Exactly,
and I can't wait. I think that's a really interesting premise. My dog's going crazy. But guys, what did you think about this story? Are you excited for Rachel Zegler, Marisa Tomei to team up in this dramedy film? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And this next one, this is just some cool shit. I love when movie stars do movie star things. This is revolving a movie called Crime 101, and it stars Chris Hemsworth and Halle Berry. And this film has a new release date, and we have the details for you here. It releases President's Day weekend of 2026. It also has Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, Monica Barbaro, Corey Hawkins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Nick Nolte. Holy shit, that's a stacked cast.
What a cast.
And
when's the last time you see Nick Nolte in something?
It's been a while.
That made me the most excited, if I'm being honest with you.
It's been a minute. It further cements Amazon and MGM Studios' move to theatrical, the commitment that they've made to theatrical films, and it follows the story of a detective as he attempts to solve a string of multi-million-dollar jewel heists by tracking the perpetrator who follows the strict set of rules known as Crime 101. We got this from The Hollywood Reporter. Nicholas, come on, dude! This is what I'm talking about. As soon as I read everything about this story, I was like, where the fuck has this been? Why have I not reported on this? Why have I not seen anything about this? I didn't hear about it until it got a fucking release date of next year. This excites me. Not only just because it has a stacked cast, but it's going theatrical, and that plot sounds amazing. It sounds great. I can't wait for this. I really just hope that it's budgeted modestly, and I hope it actually sets it and gives itself a chance to be successful. That's kind of my only worry here, but I'm down for the premise, I'm down for the cast, and I think Halle Berry and Chris Hemsworth will have natural, incredible chemistry together, and, I have a feeling she's going to pop up in Avengers Doomsday, so we probably see them together anyway. Nick, what are your thoughts on Crime 101? Do you think this is an interesting move, and do you think this release date of President's Day helps it?
I do, because I think my understanding, too, is Crime 101 is actually, it's based off a novella, so I feel like to get that up, I feel like getting that up to a feature length, is going to require some script expansion. But I mean, I think it's a absolutely stacked cast of wonderful actors and a lot of character actors too. I would say Jennifer Jason Leigh falls into that. I like Barry Keoghan's little quirks there and everything in that regard. And honestly, though, coming off of Furiosa and Chris Hemsworth's absolutely phenomenal performance in that, I thought he was incredible in it. I'd love to see him do some character work in this. I'd like him, instead of just like the Chris Hemsworth as a cop this time, like pulling the Jason Statham where it's like, well, what profession is Chris Hemsworth now? I'd love to see him do like a little character work, maybe give him, I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun opportunities, but I think it's a great cast, and it's always good to see Halle Berry show up in things as well. I think she's great. I loved her in the John Wick series, her little turn in. Was she in 2 or 3? 3, I think, right?
3. She was in chapter 3.
So, I think it's a great cast. Sounds like a great premise. So I'm on board. And, who would have thought in the age of the streaming wars and a story we'll get to later revolving Netflix, that Amazon would actually be the ones really pushing for a strong theatrical release, unless you're Roadhouse. We'll see about Roadhouse 2. But,
Dude.
Amazon's been very, very vocal about it. And, it's, you don't want to give Amazon props like that, but you kind of got to respect it.
Can you imagine how pissed Doug Liman would be if Roadhouse 2 got theatrical? I would love to just see his response.
You have Guy Ritchie behind it, but Guy Ritchie's other movies with Amazon didn't get theatrical, right? I don't think. Did Covenant?
Yeah, no, it did. It got theatrical.
Covenant did get theatrical. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he has that relationship with them, and maybe that was the Amazon wants Roadhouse 2, and they want Guy Ritchie to direct it, and Guy Ritchie said, well, I'll do it, but you got to give it to me theatrical.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it wouldn't shock me. But guys, what do you think about Crime 101? Does this movie sound interesting to you? Will you be there President's Day 2026 to watch it? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And speaking of Chris Hemsworth, do you want to hear the best fucking news ever? According to Deadline, Chris Hemsworth is set to star in an action thriller called Subversion, which is being described as Die Hard on a submarine. Fuck yes, dude. File this into my veins, right?
That's exactly where Die Hard should be.
I agree. And again, produced by Amazon MGM. Apparently Hemsworth and them are getting really along. And here's what the Deadline article had to say. It follows a once promising naval commander who is blackmailed by a cartel-like operation into piloting a dangerous submarine carrying illegal cargo across international waters, thrusting him into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, outmaneuvering blockades and navigating perilous threats both in and outside of the submarine. Dude, yes! Yes! Guys, I love dumb shit like this. I love it so much. Because one, I'm calling it dumb shit because it sounds fucking ridiculous, but that doesn't mean it can't be good. There are so many things you could do with this. One, it can be exactly what it sounds like, be really cheesy and tongue-in-cheek and know exactly what it is and be camp, and that would be fun. Or we've seen it with movies like Crawl that have a ridiculous premise, and they're like, you know what? Fuck you, we're going to make this movie good. And you care about all the characters, and you want them to succeed, and you want to see the bad guy lose. I love this. I'm such a fan of this idea.
God, I haven't thought about Crawl in so long.
I will never not think about Crawl, okay? I love that movie. But I think this made my day when I read this on Deadline. Nick, I got to throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on Subversion with Chris Hemsworth?
I mean, listen, like I just said in the past, I think he's a great actor when he turns it on. And, I like, that's where I'm kind of hoping that Crime 101 has a little bit more of like some character work that he can play into. Because this is just going to be Chris Hemsworth on a boat as a hot Navy captain, and that's fine. That's give the people what they want. I want that. It's great. But even just from the title alone, you know exactly what the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great title, don't get me wrong. But yeah, dude, this is just going to be the cheesy, over-the-top action film that I just love. And yeah, he's got a great relationship going with Amazon. I'm curious. I don't remember if the article said if there's a director on this or not. But I know he has a great working relationship with his Extraction director.
Oh, Sam Hardgrave.
To play. Yeah,
that would be crazy.
I did not see if there was a director attached in the article. It may be in there and I just missed it. But, it just signed me up, honestly. I'd be curious too, though, because I don't think this one said anything about a theatrical release. So I am curious. I am curious how that flips, because he has the relationship with it. So I imagine.
Hold on, I'm cutting to my close-up. Movie studios, I'm begging you, please put Subversion in theaters. Please, God, if not just for the movie itself, I want to be in a movie theater when this trailer plays. Because there are going to be people in this movie theater that don't know that this movie's coming or what it's called. They're going to see a trailer for what is either the greatest action movie ever made or the cheesiest action movie ever made on a submarine, and then the screen's going to go black, and then the title Subversion is going to come up, and I want people to lose their shit. As soon as that happens, everyone's going to be like, oh, fuck yes. This is, I'm in. I'm in. That's what we want to see.
I did go into the article. It does not say anything about a theatrical release, but there is a director named Patrick Volrath.
Okay.
Who directed a movie called 7500 with, looks like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's a hijacking action thriller. So, there's
and
that.
With Amazon MGM, while they are committing to theatrical, it could be either way. It could. Before we move on,
Crime 101 is maybe they went to Hemsworth and said, which one do you want in theaters?
No, he would say both. Come on, Chris. Chris, as if we're friends. Before we move on to our next story, Morgan Bernard in the live chat says, yes, we love Chris Hemsworth. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Guys,
love Chris Hemsworth.
What do you think about Subversion coming out with Chris Hemsworth? I can't fucking wait for this movie. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. As we move on to our next story, in this next one, speaking of things going theatrical, let's talk about Knives Out 3, starring Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, that incredible cast, and directed by Rian Johnson. Knives Out 3, or Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, is, of course, coming to Netflix, and let's kind of dive into some things really quick. Let's set the stage. Knives Out 2, well, let's go back further. After Knives Out 1, Rian Johnson made an incredible deal with Netflix to do Knives Out 2 and 3 for something like $300 million or something. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy money. Of course he did it. And as part of that, he was kind of supposed to, or at least was on the table of getting theatrical releases. Knives Out 2, or A Glass Onion, infamously was it a 1 week or a 2 week theatrical release? I think it was 1 week.
I believe it was 1 week before like Thanksgiving or something, if
Yes,
I'm not mistaken.
got a theatrical release, and it made really decent money for that 1 week. A lot of people went to go see it. Netflix left so much money on the table by pulling it early. Well, Rian Johnson, while he got his 1 week theatrical, he wasn't thrilled that it wasn't there the whole time, and it kind of became a whole thing. But now, Greta Gerwig's making a Narnia movie that we've been extensively covering, and that movie's getting a 2 week IMAX release. So Netflix is starting to get more serious about when people want theatrical, and Rian Johnson's no different. However, recently the Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos said probably the dumbest shit I've ever heard, where he called movie theaters like an outdated concept and that people just don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to go. Bullshit. But here's what Rian Johnson had to say about it in a recent interview with, I believe, Business Insider. I want this in as many theaters for as long as possible. We're going to push for everything we can to get this in terms of theatrical because I want as many people as possible to see it in that form. Fuck yes, Rian Johnson. That's what we want. It's exactly what we want. By the way, I highly encourage everyone to go look at the comments that Ted Sarandos made. Clearly, he's a smart dude because he runs Netflix and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But he, of course, as his brand, is like, oh, we don't need movie theaters. Like, for some reason, he's taking that stance. I honestly feel like Netflix could take the stance of, like, we could partner with movie theaters and be the streaming service that they rely on whenever their movies need that additional, money making, like if it doesn't do well or whatever. Like, I feel like there's a whole different strategy that they could take, but instead their whole thing is wanting to end movie theaters so they can run the world. Fucking upsets me. But I want to see Knives Out 3 in theaters. I want to see it in theaters really badly. I loved seeing Glass Onion in theaters. It was a great theatrical experience. The audience was eating it up. I love that film. And Rian Johnson is clearly a great filmmaker who's capable of making great theatrical experiences. And he clearly designed this movie to do that. Now, granted, I don't think he's upset about that Netflix money there, Nicholas. I wouldn't be upset about it either. But I think this should go theatrical. I think the success of Glass Onion in its 1 week showed that it should go theatrical, and I think it should be longer. But I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you think should happen with Knives Out 3?
I mean, obviously, I want to see everything in theaters, especially Subversion.
Fuck
But
yes.
I think I was very fortunate enough to be able to go see Glass Onion, which I was very happy about to watch that in theaters. I've watched it several times on Netflix after, and as it's been confirmed by several things, including Glass Out, when you release a movie in theaters, it always overperforms when it hits streaming finally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I don't blame Rian Johnson for taking the Netflix money. Right? I would too, probably. He is a director with a clear vision and a large scope for where he wanted to take this franchise. And if Netflix is the one that allowed him to do that, that's very enticing for a filmmaker. And I'm sure that that's something he knew going in, that theatrical was a very strong uphill battle. But I think as Netflix has been sort of dishing out these theatrical releases, especially with Greta Gerwig, I think it's giving him a lot more ammo and a lot more fuel to request that. I do think that he gave a great response, very nuanced response. I thought he handled the questions very well about it, and just saying that he wants to talk to Ted Sarandos about it. It is a lot better than Daniel Craig's response to Ted Sarandos when he just said your model's fucked. So I appreciate Rian Johnson taking a step back on that and looking at it a big picture, but it's something that I hope to see. Now, is he confirmed? What is he confirmed for? Glass Onion in this one, and then he's free in the clear?
Done. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then he can go with Knives Out 4 anywhere else he wishes.
Yeah, if he wants to make Knives Out 4.
If he wants to make Knives Out 4, which, I mean, if depending on the success of 3 and everything, I don't see why he would stop, every few years. Get one out as long as Daniel Craig still wants to do them, I guess.
Oh, 100%.
But, I think it'd be great to see, and I wonder if moving forward, if Netflix needs to be playing into that as well, right? If they want Knives Out 4, maybe that's on the negotiating table. Like, oh, we will promise you a wider theatrical release for 3, and also a wide theatrical release for 4, but 4 is with us still. I think that that's something to definitely put into consideration.
And I bet you if the IMAX release of Narnia knocks it out of the fucking park, easy. It's going in theaters. Easy.
Yep, I agree. We'll see, though. I mean, hopefully, if the Agatha Christie movies that Kenneth Branagh keep making money at the box office. I don't know why. Um, I don't know why they wouldn't want the same thing with Daniel Craig.
I would mortgage my house for a crossover of those franchises.
I just want to know who gets the Muppets first.
Oh,
and while I think Rian Johnson could do it so much better, I kind of want it to go to Kenneth Branagh.
Me too.
I just feel like it'd be a lot more entertaining.
Rian Johnson directing Kenneth Branagh on the Muppets. That would be fantastic.
No, listen, it's a great series. It's a great franchise, and I think if Netflix wants to start tailoring that relationship with their creatives and have that sort of working relationship with it, I think it's something definitely they need to be more open to exploring. Because I bet theaters want them just as bad as Netflix wants people watching it on their platform.
No, 100%.
So I don't know why Netflix doesn't also start like maybe just dishing out some money here and there to help produce a movie. That like another, like a co-production almost, but they just get the exclusive streaming rights,
again, working with theaters. I think that's such a good idea. I don't know why they don't do it either.
Whatever studio, Netflix, I will give you an additional $10 million toward your movie's budget, but we get it,
Yeah, and they have so many resources. You could even say if you're Netflix, you could literally say, we're going to co-produce this movie, we get exclusive streaming rights, and we'll fully pay to make the movie. However, all the money that the movie makes, we first have to recuperate our budget. Then anything after that is profit to you.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could demand all of that if you're Netflix, honestly. But there are, Louis Cav has a couple things in the live chat that I want to point out because he brings up some good points. One, he says, let me pull it up on the screen here. I feel like with how popular the first two were, it shouldn't have any problem with demand in theaters. You would think, but we're still talking about Netflix. We're still talking about Netflix, who doesn't even promote their own originals.
The demand is there, but Netflix does not want to supply.
Exactly. He also adds, yes, make Daniel Craig do this till he's 90. Till he's 90. Absolutely.
I feel like I believe he will, though, too, honestly.
Yeah, I think he has fun. And this last comment he left, this is one of the best ideas I've ever heard. Like the mock movies at the end of 22 Jump Street. Just do that for real with Daniel Craig and Knives Out Mysteries.
That's
oh my God, yes.
That's where the Muppets comes in.
That's where the Muppets come in. That's where everything comes in. I want to see that. I would help finance it, and I don't have any money. So that's where we are. And just my last comment, I know that I shit a lot on Netflix and everything. Let me just say, as an indie filmmaker, if Netflix bought one of my films, I would be so over the moon excited about that, right? What an accomplishment. Especially if it was a series. Oh, I'd love to have a series on Netflix. But at the same time, what they are doing to like the movie industry, what they're trying to do, they're failing. What they're trying to do in the movie industry is just really annoying. And here's what I would challenge Ted Sarandos. Take your top 5 most performing movies. Originals, by the way. Because I bet you the top 5 movies aren't originals. Take your top 5 most original performing movies. Name 3 characters from each movie. I bet you can't. I bet you can't because no one cares. They don't have a lasting effect because they don't hit the pop cultural zeitgeist very rarely to where that can happen. You know the only character's name I can think of right now? Tyler Rake from Extraction. It's because that name is cool as fuck. It's the only name I can think of an original Netflix movie. Tyler Rake. It is a cool name.
According to Netflix's website, and to Dumb, the top 10 most popular movies that are Netflix originals are Red Notice is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
This is global all-time ranking. Red Notice, Carry On, and Don't Look Up.
Can you name a single character from one of those movies?
Jason Bateman.
Yes, that was what an amazing character's name.
The Rock.
The Rock, yes, exactly.
Don't Look Up. But I mean, even if you go through the 10, Adam Project, Bird Box, Back in Action, Leave the World Behind, The Gray Man, Damsel, and We Can Be Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
No idea. Also, I would just like to point out real quick as well. So it has the views. Red Notice is number 1 with 230, almost 231 million views.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2's Carry On with 172.
That's a hell of a lead.
That's a significant jump.
I don't like Red Notice.
I don't like Red Notice, but good for them.
Good for
But
them
no, but
indeed.
that's crazy. Yeah, I could not name a single character of it. But like but they've hit
Mhm.
it. You know, House of Cards was a Netflix original series.
Oh,
Not to bring up Kevin Spacey,
no,
but then
no,
Stranger
listen.
Things. I mean, their series crush it when they are able to hit the pop culture zeitgeist. They crush it every
No,
time.
let
They
me
just can't
yeah.
get to that.
Let me give Netflix their flowers. Their shows, as you mentioned, they hit the pop cultural zeitgeist all the time. Their team that's responsible for going to film festivals and buying potential awards contenders fucking rules. I know a lot of people gave Emilia Perez a lot of shit, which fair, but those films that they've gotten in the past, like films like Roma, The Irishman, like insane, insane grabs. Like they're great at doing that. And, that's something to be worth noting. They have a really good team that goes out to buy films at festivals.
They can
But
tell when someone else's movie is really good, but they can't make a good one their own.
you said it, not me. Guys, what do you think about, I don't even remember what fucking story we were talking about. Oh, Knives Out. What do you think about Knives Out 3? Do you think it should go into theaters? Let us know as we move on to our next story. And guys, this next one, we almost made this the main topic. This is a big fucking deal that came literally out of nowhere in the world of DC, and that is this. Initial reports started coming out that the Sergeant Rock film, starring Colin Farrell, directed by Luca Guadagnino, which was supposed to start shooting in like a couple weeks this summer. The first reports came out saying that film is canceled, it is shelved, it is done. New reports have come out to say that it's just been delayed, it's been pushed. What's the truth, though? We don't know, but we can report. So, hence the question mark, has this film been shelved, or has it just been delayed?
And the potential misspelling. Jury's still out on that.
Dude, what a fucking joke. That's a top 5 joke. Can I tell you why that's so... You know why that fucking kills me?
Why?
Because when I was texting you, hey, can you put this on the thumbnail? I literally sent it, and I'm like, I have no idea if that's right.
So apparently, because...
oh, God.
Kyler had asked about it as well. Apparently, 1L is the American English version. 2L's is the British. But the 2L's seems right, doesn't it?
It does. And here's the thing. You can't say that about most British spellings. You can't. So you really got to give him credit on that one. You really do.
Yeah. Honestly, I stared at it and debated so long that I almost thought about just changing the word.
Listen, I get it. But here's what we can report so far. According to Deadline, which was the this came after the initial reports from The Wrap that the movie had been shelved and canceled. Deadline came out and said, whoa, it's not canceled, that it's just eyeing its 2026 production start now. Ultimately, shooting this summer was unattainable as the team would have had to rush through prep to hit the right weather conditions at the right time. The film is being shot primarily on location in the UK, and shooting exteriors in the dead of winter is not optimal. Mike Feist and David Johnson from Alien Romulus had also had offers in hand. So here's what I want to say. I think it's entirely possible that this film was going to have, that the film has been delayed instead of canceled. Let me kind of break it down this way. Here's evidence that it's been canceled. Here's evidence that it's been delayed. Evidence that it's been delayed. DC was very bullish on this movie publicly. And typically, if you weren't going to be, or you had worries that something was going to happen, you would not be talking about a movie publicly. They did a whole thing recently where they were talking about how excited they were and how they were going to start shooting and everything was going great. Very odd to have a movie be canceled like that out of nowhere. More evidence that it's been delayed instead of canceled. The fact that we don't have any comments from Luca Guadagnino or anything like that, because that dude makes like 10 movies every 10 minutes. So I'm sure for him, what I could see in this situation was like, hey, I need to start now, or I got to go do these other things I've committed to. How many things on this show have we reported that he's directing? And they were like, hey, well, we can't start right now. And then he was like, all right, well, then start later. And you have that. I think that's also could be evidence of that. But then here's where like my something isn't right. You know that bell that goes off in your head of something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
This Deadline article and like some of the other ones in the major trades, you have a very good point here of saying like, oh, the schedule wasn't right, the weather's not going to be right, and it's going to be in the dead of winter, it's not optimal, blah blah blah. They were going to start shooting in the summer. So I don't see how that's a problem. 2, you're just now figuring this out? Like that, no. You knew this when you started pre-production before the script was done. You're like, oh, we're eyeing shooting this time. Oh, it's going to look like this. We need this, blah, blah, blah. And then the Deadline article, where the bell's rung for me, Nicholas, is the Deadline article says, oh, the equipment was going to get damaged because of the rain and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, put a fucking tarp on it. How many movies have you seen shoot in the rain? So many. They create fake rain and they protect the equipment. It's not like we're shooting in fucking hurricane weather, okay? Like, that's the only thing that makes me think, like, something was fucking up. Because, like, if I was DC and news came out that, like, my movie was canceled and I needed to make it seem like it's not canceled, I'm texting all my people at the trades being like, hey, no, it's actually this, it's this, it's this. And it's just
It's
like...
the weather.
Yeah, and it's like, you're fucking part of Warner, brother. What do you mean it's the weather? It's a $70 million movie. Get the fuck out of here. It's kind of where part of me is at, right? But at the same time, maybe it is. and maybe, and ultimately, I think it's coming down to this. I think Warner Brothers and DC right now are in a very interesting position where they had big hopes out the gate of announcing a ton of projects for DC. I think James Gunn and Peter Safran, and this is not an insult towards them, I think James Gunn and Peter Safran are quickly learning how hard it is to run a studio. And I think that Supergirl is almost done filming. You know, they had, that's always been smooth. Like the fact that like Craig Gillespie came on, like ever since Craig Gillespie came on, they've been running with it. They've been doing great. I honestly think they just, maybe my prediction is this movie was not in good shape to start. And they were like, fuck, we can't start shooting this. And I'm sure James has been distracted because Superman's about to come out. I'm sure he can't sleep at night, bro. I wouldn't be able to. And I honestly think that maybe before Warner Brothers may have talked to DC and said, hey, before we commit to $70 million on this thing, we got to see how Superman does. I think maybe that conversation finally happened. And this is where we're at. So it could be anything. It could be fully canceled. It could be delayed. I just found it very odd that Deadline was saying that in the article. You know, I don't know. There's some theories. I saw Jeff Snyder and other people reporting that like they kept just slowly chipping away at the budget, and Luca was like, guys, what the hell? Like, I was greenlit at a certain budget, but like I've only heard that from one place, so like I'm not comfortable being like that's what happened, you know. But there's some fuckery afoot, as they would say in the Guy Ritchie movie The Gentleman. Nicholas, what do you think is going on here?
No, it's interesting. You really, because I think they've been very vocal from the start, and I think that's maybe because it was a project that was kind of shaping up and ramping up really quickly, so they wanted to be able to announce some stuff and talk about things, But there were always so many rumors about it, right? Luca Guadagnino was always in from the start, which was always an interesting catch for a DC movie. And then there was the whole thing, oh, it was Daniel Craig, it was Daniel Craig, it was Daniel Craig, and then he dropped out. Then all of a sudden it shifts, and it's Jeremy Allen White. That he drops out. Now it's Colin Farrell, who's probably got to be in prosthetics for Penguin and Batman 2, whenever that even gets made. Probably around the same time, causing more production issues. But I think what's interesting about it is so much was moving forward with the project. Like, how is it getting to this point now where you have Luca out squatting, not squatting, scouting locations. Yep. Yeah, scouting locations. You have two other actors allegedly with offers in hands. So how are you a few months out from shooting and then it just falls apart? Like that's more the weird part to me is how did it get this far to fall apart at this point?
That's exactly what my thinking was too. Sorry if you can hear me like chew my popcorn, by the way. I'm trying to do it away from the mic.
No, you're good. It's so that's the interesting part to me. I could see the budget being maybe a thing, like maybe they're a little on edge about Superman, right? And Supergirl, maybe, everything's been smooth. We haven't heard any reports, right? But maybe there's some budgetary concerns surrounding Supergirl that maybe they need to, take away a little bit from Sergeant Rock and everything in that regard. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but I think it's definitely interesting, and it doesn't pass the smell test. I think there's something afoot more so than weather. I just don't know what that is,
Yeah. And that's what kind of tripped up my alarm too, because weather being a reason is for one of our films getting shut down.
I would almost put money that Colin Farrell will not be attached to this project when it comes out.
That would not shock me at all. That is a good point. That would not shock me at all.
I bet that was a favor. and him wanting to work with Luca. And I bet it was like, we just did Penguin, man. We want to keep you in the wheelhouse. Do you think you could step in, take this over for us? And I bet maybe it was just that. I could see that being a scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Maybe Penguin season 2 gets a little bit more relevant. But I would not be shocked if this was a favor. He's like, no, I don't need to stick around for this, man. Like, I'm not working around my schedule. I got shit to do.
No, 100%. Like I would, that would not shock me at all. And as I was saying earlier, like one of our films that have a budget of $8,000, yeah, Rain can fuck that up. $70 million, and you're with Warner Brothers, fuck off. There's not gonna fuck you up that bad. But guys, what do you think about this? Do you think Sergeant Rock is straight up canceled, or do you think that it's just being delayed for another year? Precisely summer 2026, one full year. Okay. Let us know in the comments as we move on to our main topic story of the day. And this one came out of nowhere just a few days ago. 45 minutes in, getting to the main story. Thank you to those sticking around. But, guys, Jeremy Renner was doing an interview recently on video, and you can find the video online, where the possibility of a Hawkeye Season 2 got brought up. And he had some stuff to say. And that stuff was really fucking surprising. Here is what Jeremy Renner had to say. He said that he completely turned down doing Hawkeye Season 2. And the reason, he was only offered half of his Season 1 salary, and it's for work that would require 8 months of his time. And he made a joke saying that it could be due to his snowmobile accident. He said something along the lines of, is it because I'm half a person? I'm half Jeremy, so you're going to give me half the money? He did go off to say that he doesn't blame Marvel or Disney, but rather accountants, and says he still loves the character and would love to do Season 2 if they can reach an agreement, and confirms that the story was ready to go. And here's the thing. We're pulling this from Variety, but the interview was with another source. Here's the thing, though. Not only was it ready to go, dude, if they're getting to the point where they know exactly how long they're going to need him for 8 months and they're negotiating salary, dude, that shit was ready. Like, I'm sure a lot of people lost work because of it. Like, if this really happened, like, Feige's mad.
There were so many rumors a while back about like what the story would be and things like that. So that does confirm like that maybe there was some truth to that they did have that shaped up and we're sitting there holding on to it.
Yeah. And I think whenever this happened where he was like, well, I'm not doing it, any other company would either write him out or recast him, but Feige and Marvel, they're like, we're not going to fucking do that. So, and then we clearly saw Marvel, all their attention just shifted to getting Doomsday and Secret Wars right. They're like, we have to just nail this. So I bet you things like this, things like if they were going to do a second season of Agatha or other things, they're just like after, like even Blade became like just after we get this, we got to get this done. And then we'll do it after.
Like we need this to be a win.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised if we do get Hawkeye Season 2, but I don't think it's coming until after those films, unless something happens to Hawkeye in those movies. But, I was surprised by the candidness of Jeremy Renner, because, like, in the video, by the way, he's not, like, yelling. He's not, like, being outright, like, rude. He was just asked about it, and he's like, no, I turned it down because they offered me half the money. And then this was my thinking in real time as I was watching that interview. I'm like, man, that's a fucked up thing to say, because maybe he just has a small role. And because of the limited role, they're going to give him half because like Halle. And then he follows up and says, no, I was going to be working for 8 months, which is more than I worked on the first season. And then I was like, oh, wow, that is really fucked up of them to offer that then. Yeah. And then he makes a joke about like, is it because I'm half a person because I got run over by a fucking snowmobile? And then he says, and again, I'm very, like the way he handled it, he was like, by the way, this isn't Marvel. And then he starts to say it's Disney. And then he goes, well, it's really not even Disney. It's just the accountants that like make these decisions. Like I was really just disappointed and we couldn't come to an agreement. And so I turned it down and said, I won't do it. And the fact that he turned it down and it never happened, that proves, at least to me, like he's a huge part of the story. That like they can't make it without him. And it's like, that's crazy. Like it's crazy that that's happening to one of the OG Avengers. Like that's just so odd. And to think like if this can happen to Jeremy Renner, especially when, as fucked up as this may sound, he has a lot of public grace because of his accident. So the fact that this could happen to someone who's been acting as long as he has, been as good for as long as he has, he's an Academy Award nominated actor, and in the universe that he's the most consistently acted in, and the grace from what happened to him publicly, if this can happen to him, imagine what's happening to like up-and-comers, other A-listers, women, people of color. Like, they are getting fucked by these offers. And I was just really, really shocked to see this. And I'm going to throw it over to you now. Are you surprised that Jeremy Renner, shared? I'm really shocked that he shared this. I'm surprised there's no, like, NDA consequence. I'm sure he got a phone call from Feige afterwards. But, like, are you shocked that he was sharing this? And do you think that this could be something that, like, could come back to bite him? Or do you think ultimately this was a good move and that maybe this will get Hawkeye Season 2 back on track?
I don't know. I mean, I think the candor is something that's refreshing, and it could be as a result of his accident, right? Maybe I think when something like that happens, that life changing, that life altering, I think it starts to put a lot of things in perspective. And he's like, no, I almost lost my life in this awful accident. I don't want to leave my family for 8 months for you to give me this offer, especially because that seems like, because there's no way that it's a 16-month shoot.
Yeah.
And he's just in it for half. So I think it's interesting too, especially because I'm wondering if it's a budgetary thing. So not to go into like full rumors and everything, but the rumors that it was season 2 was going to be kind of over the course of a night, raid style, I think was the main rumor.
Yeah.
There's no way that could be an expensive show.
No, not at all.
Right. So
if that was true, yeah.
If that was true, right, and if that's the case, maybe you want to try to keep it as tight a budget as possible. But like, I feel like not at the cost of your stars, because damn well Haley Steinfeld's going to be expensive after the success of Sinners. So I would think that Marvel would want to do everything in their graces just to keep her in their wheelhouse. Like pay Jeremy whatever he wants, because we need Haley. Jeremy served us well in the past, and we'll keep using him sparingly here and there, but we need her, to take this forward the next few years. So it was interesting to see. Again, it's not something people talk about. I think that society as a whole has gotten a lot more positive about talking about salary, especially like in the workplace and stuff. But I still feel like in Hollywood, that has sort of been something that you don't hear happening as much. So it was nice to see him. And now he doesn't go into the amounts and everything, right? Like, I feel like then maybe that's just like, oh man, I got paid $50 million for the first one, and they only want to give me 25. That's an exaggerated amount. There's no way it's 50.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he made $5-10 million probably for Hawkeye, OG Avenger.
Maybe 20. I think 20 max.
So offering him 10 for a lot more work, a lot more physicality, and for him and his body post-accident to have to put in even extra effort on top of that. I think it's crazy. And I'm wondering, like, he said the accountants, right? He called he told him to go fly a kite, I think he said.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, is this stuff that, like, gets to, like, the heads of the studios, right? Like, was Kevin Feige aware of the offer going out to, like, did he sign off on this offer going out? Because I feel like he would look at it and be like, how does it get to the point where you look at that, you're like, yeah, we're gonna offer him half to do a lot more work. Like, he'll definitely take that, right? Like, so like it's just more of that blatant, like, just not being the lack of self-awareness in that is just crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think, is that something that goes that high up?
Well, there's an old saying in Hollywood that I think rings true even to people at Jeremy Renner's caliber, and that is, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And I think that that's true from big corporations. I think it's true from everyone. I wouldn't be shocked. And again, this is not something he said. This is just something I'm speculating on. I'm wondering if, to try to save money, Marvel was like, hey, we know about like what happened with your accident, so while you're going to be around for 8 months, we're going to have a stunt guy do a lot of your stuff. But since you're not going to be doing a lot of the acting, we're going to pay you less. And I could have seen, again, speculation, but I could see him taking that the wrong way and be like, what the fuck, man? I can still do it. Like, that's fucked up. Like, I could have seen it, something like that. Again, not saying that happened. It's just speculation. But, it could be a lot of things. And while I'm sure, like, Feige, of course, has some say and aware of these things, considering he controls budgets, at the end of the day, he does have bosses, for example, going back to another pay dispute, famously, Black Widow and Scarlett Johansson and Bob Chapek in Disney, where she said that she got screwed out of her back-end deal, which was true. She still promoted the movie. She did her whole press tour. She did everything she was supposed to do. They reached out several times. Dude, I remember covering this story. I can't believe this is fucking real. And then she said, hey, I'm going to have to sue you if you don't respond to me. Please do so. And they didn't, so she had to sue them. And Kevin Feige was aware of all of this, and there's nothing he could do. And then when she sued, they released the worst, ugliest fucking statement I've ever fucking heard. Like, I still cannot believe, like, that had to be one of the first signs where, like, the people, like, the brass at Disney were like, oh, Chapek's gotta go. Like, dude, when that statement came out, basically, if you weren't around or you don't remember the reporting, the statement, I'm gonna summarize it, but it basically said, like, they outed her salary and said, we paid her tens of millions of dollars, and for the world that's going through a public health crisis right now, she's acting very entitled. But I could not believe it. And that came from Disney. That came from the Walt Disney Corporation. That's insane that happened. But yeah, so basically that was just a big round way of saying, like, maybe Feige knows, but he probably can't do anything. You know, and I think, and by the way, when you read these comments that Jeremy made, I know that it can seem like, oh, like kind of shitty. When you watch the video, he was as cordial as I think you could be about it. Honestly.
Yeah, when you clip it out, it definitely out of context and stuff like that. And I think he has a lot going against him, right? Like, oh, you know, boo-hoo, you're making, you know, still several $1 million.
Yeah.
To be in one of the biggest franchises in history. But I think it's a lot more than that. You know, I think that's the worth the value and what he's been paid in the past. So why would he take less?
Yeah.
You know, if you offered me $200 to do something and then the following week you said, I'll give you 100 to do the same thing, why would I do that? You paid me $2.
Yeah. No, exactly. Some live chats I want to pull up on the screen here. Louis Cav says, Andy has the Jeremy Renner app. I wish he still had the Jeremy Renner app. I love every time something happens with Jeremy Renner in the news, somebody on Twitter always tweets, like, man, I just wish there was an app where I could share this. And it's funny every single time. I love it. And Morgan Bernard says, will Jeremy Renner be in the new Avengers movie? It's funny you bring that up. We didn't run it as a story because we literally would be here for 7 hours, if that's the case. And basically, he hasn't been officially announced, but Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic, which is a show where he drops more scoops other than his newsletter, he said, hey, someone emailed me the full cast list. I can read it now because Marvel pissed him off. He's like, I have no idea if this is true, by the way, but here are the names that are listed. And Jeremy Renner was on that list. So I think it's very possible that he's in it. But we'll see. We'll see. And I think Louis Cav just learned that the app is no longer there anymore because he adds, oh no, is it gone? Yeah. Yeah, they shut the app down a while ago, which is a shame.
Almost immediately. I'm pretty sure it was removed almost immediately.
But what's crazy is the reason it was removed is because it just immediately turned into like fucking turmoil of like people just saying horrific shit to each other. It was crazy. It was crazy stuff.
Oh no, actually I apologize. He created it in March 2017 and it was shut down in September of 2019.
I would love to know how much money it actually made.
In part to the frequent bullying and trolling that the platform had experienced, the app featured optional microtransactions, with some ranging up to roughly $400 despite the app being free.
Incredible.
That's so good.
Incredible. But guys, what do you think about Jeremy Renner turning down Hawkeye Season 2? Do you think that this is a good thing, a bad thing? Do you think it will eventually come back and happen again? Or do you think it's done forever? Let us know in the comments. And guys, that was our final news story for the Friday show. Before we go, we have a couple of housekeeping things we want to add to you. One, thank you so much for joining us, those that participated live. Thank you so much for chatting. If you watch live in the future, we'd love to chat with you during the shows. Please comment afterwards. We'd love to chime in and have more discussions. Just please be nice. Please be respectful with each other. We don't like, all the bullshit. I'm trying to think some stuff to look forward to. Oh, our Thunderbolts reviews on the channel. We got to see it a little bit early, so please check that out. Upcoming movies. I think we have Final Destination and Mission Impossible coming out at the end of the month, so we'll have reviews for that. Anything else that happens before that, we'll have reviews for. We might do, I don't want to commit fully, we might do a live spoiler discussion for Thunderbolts, if anyone wants to do that on Sunday. Maybe. We'll see. It just all depends on timing. And I'm trying to think. Oh, eventually, so I know no one asked, but I'm going to tell you. I've had a crazy schedule these past few weeks, and I have not made a single goddamn video on the new Doctor Who season. So there's a new episode out tomorrow. I'm just going to have to fucking make the first 4 one video and just talk for Doctor Who for like an hour, which is a dream for me, but it's a nightmare for all of my friends and family. So I'll be doing that. I'm going to try to bully Nick into doing it with me. We'll see if we can make it happen. But I got to get back on those week by week reviews because I love that show. But yeah, do you have anything else housekeeping you want to add?
No, as always, links to our social media channels can be found in the description of the video, as long as the links to the audio-only version of the show, which can be available on your podcasting app of choice. And guys, we are about less than, I think, 15 subscribers from 5,000. So tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your parents, get anyone on the show just to get us to that goal. We'd love to have it.
For some reason, tell your coworkers really hurt me. Just like anyone, please.
Just anyone. Honestly, just start walking around on the street, just say, hey, subscribe to this channel.
Oh, God.
But yeah, that's sort of where we're at on it.
Yes, and guys, again, we love doing the show. We love you all. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and we'll see you on the next episode.